Mm. All right. So at a point, the U.S. withdrew from the Paris Climate Agreement, and so many believe that it impacted the outputs in the oil sector. Do you agree with that?
Well, if yeah, of course, I think that the climate issues around climate change are closely related to net zero,
Mm.
reduction of emissions, and the funny thing, a number of oil and gas companies, exploration and production companies, if I recall very well, Shell and Total have pulled back some of their plans to transition, right? So pulling out just means that you know what, we want to do more with hydrocarbons.
Mm.
We want to ensure that we can drill more, we can produce more, we can be more prosperous. Because if you look at it from this perspective, the world needs to spend heavily to be able to quickly transition, right? If the world is not making that spend, and if any crisis in one part of the world means that you will have issues with non-carbons, like what we did see during when the Ukraine-Russia war started and with COVID. People began to go back to coal. People began to go back to even firewood, to open back their nuclear plants. So if the world has not been able to spend, particularly the Western world has not been able to put in as much finances as is required to be able to transition and even fair transition, right? If transition needs to be equitable, right? If it's not equitable, if it's not fair, then countries have the right to pull out, particularly where they consider that the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and those other climate negotiations don't pay them. To be completely honest, I've always thought that the way the transition is being effected looks self-serving, particularly for the Western world, in my view. So if anyone from the West thinks that there's still a lot of oil and gas to be utilized in the world to lead prosperity of the citizenry, you can't really blame them. That's the truth. You can't really blame them in my own view.